Hello, everyone. This is Steve Crosby. I'm the client education specialist here at Crane and Woolley. We're going to put together today for you a little video regarding your asset inventory worksheet. When you have become one of our clients, signed a fee agreement, we get you into our system, we have a task to send you this asset inventory. Sometimes it confuses folks, and so we want to try to help you out a little bit here today. I'm just going to walk through this. You normally get it through your client portal. If you are not comfortable using your client portal, give us a call. Let somebody in the office know. We can also send it to you via email. But this is an inventory sheet of your assets. We ask you to complete it and return it to us at your earliest convenience. This is not an insignificant document, but it is not imperative that the rest of your documents be delayed while you fill this out. We can proceed to get your trust agent documents, trust and agent documents done for you. We can sign them. But this provides significant benefit to you, to us, and to your heirs, even though it doesn't affect whether or not we can proceed legally with your documents. So this is an inventory of your assets. Well, why do we ask for this? Several reasons. The first one is when you're gone, this becomes a guide for your heirs and your successor trustees to know what you have and where you have it. Hey, I have an account at Edward Jones. I have an account at Chase Bank. They don't know where that stuff is. They don't know how you've done your files. Maybe they're locked out of your computer. So this is an educational thing and a helpful guide for your heirs. Or maybe you're hiring a CPA. They're going to hire a CPA or a fiduciary to help them after you're gone. Boy, this would be really handy for them. It also helps us to identify that if your asset net worth is starting to bump up against the estate tax limit, which is currently $15 million a piece in late 2025, and they just upped that, so I imagine it's going to be that for a while. Normally, that would come up in your client consultation with the attorney, but this is kind of like a secondary protection for us, that if we look over your asset worksheet and see that, maybe you're not over the taxable limit today, but maybe 3 years from now you will be. That's really important to know so that we produce the correct kind of document, the correct kind of trust for you that minimizes your tax obligations. Now, to be over 15 million each is a good problem to have in a way, but it opens up, the complexities of wealth. There are complexities that come with wealth. So those are the main reasons why we give you this document. It will also become a guide that we use at your funding meeting. Your funding meeting is what we do after you get your documents all signed. Your trust and all your agent documents are signed. You come in, you sign them, and we will shift to the funding meeting. The funding meeting is about a half hour where we will walk you through the mechanics of the how-to questions. How do I get my checking account into my trust? How do I get my IRA into the trust? How do I get my 401k into the trust without triggering a tax event? There's ways to do that, and that is covered in your funding meeting. And if you give us this completed form, we will go through asset by asset, explaining exactly what you need to do with each asset, exactly how to do it to assure that those assets get properly transferred to your trust with no tax implications. So we also use this form as a guide during your funding meeting. That's not a meeting you have to schedule. It's already built into our processes. It will be the second half after you sign your documents. So we use it as a guide. We ask because we're trying to help make this as smooth as possible. So for the reasons that I've already hinted at, let your trustees know where your assets are. It helps make the funding meeting be very efficient and accurate and specific to you, and it assures that we have properly funded your trust. Now, people get confused on this one. Just because you've listed an asset in here doesn't mean it's in the trust. This is just like a table of contents. So putting an item on this form does not transfer it into your trust. The mechanics of that we will talk about at your funding meeting. This document is not part of the legal documents of your trust. That's why we can proceed with your legal documents, getting them executed and signed, getting your trust in place, and you don't have to give us this. So it's very important that you understand that just itemizing here does not transfer anything into this. Well, I gave it to you. I put it on my sheet. You gave us this sheet, and you mean to tell me it's not in the trust? That's right. This is not a legal document. This is an aid. So no, there is no legal transaction that happens with anything you put on this document. That is why we have a funding meeting where we will tell you how to transfer different assets into your trust in different ways. Cars and vehicles are different than bank accounts that are different than 401ks and maybe in life insurance. And each one of them might have to be transferred differently. Just writing it into this document does not transfer ownership. And this document has no legal authority. It's a helpful guide for us, for you, and for your heirs. Now, we have some codes here. This, again, is just so that you can help us tell us how that asset might be held. For instance, I had a client that had some assets over at Vanguard, and they had like a joint tenancy. Well, Vanguard had some specific limitations of what you could do with a trust that's held in a joint tenancy. So that would be an example of why we need to know this information. We can't control fiduciaries' policies and procedures. Edward Jones, Fidelity, Vanguard, Ameriprise, Charles Schwab, Chase, Morgan Stanley, whoever you're dealing with, they have a right to their own policies and procedures. But it would help us to know exactly how your assets are held so we know that when it comes time to deal with those folks, we can give you proper information. And I can see that this is a little bit out of date. It has been. That's what it was before it went up in 2025 or early 2025. It's currently it's $15 million, not 13.99. But that's why the code. We want to know, hey, is this a separate property? Is this a community property? It's just important information for us to know. So here, I'm just going to take you through quickly. Real property. This would be like your home, any extra homes, a rental property, vacation home. Sometimes people forget to tell us about their timeshares. Those can get complicated. We want to know if you have a timeshare property or you have mineral rights or something. You have pasture land. So any sort of that real property. Well, maybe you don't own the mineral rights land, but you get payment. You get your residuals. Well, we need to know that. Automobiles, boats, RVs. If it rolls on the highways, if it has a tag, it has to be transferred to the trust. You just can't write in, I have a 68 restored Camaro and it's in the trust and I want to give it to my cousin because I'm writing it in the trust. You can't do that. Transferring the vehicle is going to be part of your homework, and we'd like to know what kind of automobiles. That includes trailers, boats. If it's on the highway, we need to know about it. Now, there are ag exemptions for farm vehicles, but I'm not going to get into the tall weeds of that because it may not be relevant to you. But if it is relevant, we can have a conversation when we're together about the different ag exemptions and why you do not need to transfer some of them. Bank accounts. Hey, what kind of, it's a checking account, it's a saving account, it's a CD, it's a money market. You're going to list it. Type of account, account number, and who owns it. That helps us with issues of community and separate property. Community and separate property may be important to you. Now, Texas is a community property state, but if you bring separate property to the trust, it stays separate property. So your trust doesn't change that. And you might want to have For instance, in the trust, you might say, well, I want my CD over at Wells Fargo. That's just mine, and I want it to go to my nephew. And then you have, yeah, but my account over at Wells Fargo is just mine, and I want it to go to my niece. Well, we would need to know those kind of things. They would normally come up in your consultation, but this is kind of like a double check for that sort of thing. Stocks, bonds, IRAs, investments. This is where we want to know about your 401k, your IRA, your Roth, your pension, that sort of thing. There are ways to get a tax-deferred account into your trust that don't trigger a tax event, and it's by making the trust a payable on death beneficiary of those assets or a survivorship beneficiary. So we will talk about that with you when we're together. And if you fill it out here, we'll tell you exactly what to do with each one of those types of assets. Life insurance policies and annuities, put them down. You may or may not want them in the trust, and we'll talk about that at your funding meeting, but this is where you would list the life insurance, who's the beneficiary, what the life insurance policy is worth, or your annuity. Retirement plans, pensions, 401ks, put them in here. This is more stocks and bonds. This is more retirement related. Break it out for us. There are some entities, tends to be teachers unions, civil service workers, firemen, policemen. Sometimes they have limitations on some of their retirement assets. We kind of need to know that in terms of what you can do with the retirement asset. So this is where you would list all those, and the same thing. If you give us them itemized, we'll tell you what to do with each one of the assets. Business. Hey, do you own an LLC or a corporation? Yeah, we need to know that. It should have come up in your consultation, but this is where you would also list that. Hey, does anybody owe you money? Do you have a promissory note out to somebody? Not just a kind loan to somebody you love, but an official pocket loan? We need to know that. Hey, are you going to inherit a lawsuit or a judgment? Why would that be significant? Because if that inheritance is a big one and it puts you over that $15 million limit, we need to know that, because we need to write a trust that's appropriate for someone who's going to have a tax liability. If you're under $15 million, you don't have to worry about it. But let's just say you're at $13 million when you sign with us, but you're gonna get a judgment in 18 months. It's going to put you at $17 million. We need to know that. Other assets. You can list them here if you want to, but it's a bit redundant because each of you are going to get something that looks like this. You're going to get a memorandum of personal property. So this will be your name, your name. I want my jewelry to go to. I want the ring my mother gave me on my 15th birthday to go to. I want my baseball cards to go to. I have a box of gold coins under the bed. I want to go that to. Listen, I have a $5,000 plasma screen TV. I want that to go to. That's where you put those kind of things, and you'll sign and date that. So that last section on the asset inventory is a bit redundant. I wouldn't put a whole lot of time into this unless you had, let's say, I got a work of art that's worth $250,000. We need to know that. You need to put that here. Or it's worth $50,000. We need to know that. You need to put that here. I have a collectible vase from the Ming Dynasty, and it's worth $35,000, and we need to know that. This is where you put that kind of stuff. I mean, again, because that could influence how we draft the trust for you. So that is that. We don't want to put guns on here. I'm actually going to do a completely different video and talk about guns as its own special category. It should be it'll be included in the email where you got the link to this video. There should be a link that deals specifically with guns. And this is just for, I don't know where else to put it. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth anything, but I want, you just put anything you want in here, including, well, hey, my jewelry's in the safety deposit box at First USA Bank. It's the box number. That's the kind of stuff you could put here. Hey, I hid the ring, blah, 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 under a pillow, under my bed, or under the bed in the guest room in a box. That kind of minutia you would put in here. So again, think about your heirs trying to find stuff. This is where you put that sort of extra minutia. So I hope this little video has helped clarify some things for you on this asset worksheet. The two main things that we want you to remember is that you do not hold up the process waiting for you to get this. We can proceed and you not fill this in at all. People do it all the time. That's your call. That's your business. We can go to signing without this information. And the other thing is, you understand, just listing it here does not put it in the trust. And this document is not a part of your legal trust. It's just a helpful guide for your heirs, yourself, and ourselves as we try to provide the best product that we can for you. So thanks. My name's Steve. I'm retiring in 2 weeks, so you probably won't see me. But thanks for hanging in there for a few minutes, and I hope this thing helped you out.